Just a minute past the hour, we're learning more about the background of a man who died after a shooting at an Albuquerque Walmart. That happened on Sunday. In newly released surveillance video, you can see the victim, 21-year-old Angelo Martinez, walk into the store. This is some video from the scene a couple of nights ago. News 13 did some digging and found this is not the first time that Martinez has been in the news. A few years ago, he went on the run after holding up a smoke shop in the South Valley. Court records show Martinez has been in and out of jail. And in our next half hour, hear from witnesses who say they saw the victim and suspect right before that shooting.
Now, developing right now, we're just hours away from the start of this year's legislative session at the state capitol. Sure to be a game changer, the fact that for the first time in about 60 years, Republicans own the House by 4 seats. Key issues like minimum wage and taking away driver's licenses for illegal immigrants have failed in the past and are expected to be hot topics once again this session. So will the 4 extra seats held by the Republican Party change that? News 13's Catherine Nazone has more on what we can expect during the next 2 months. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, the governor will give her State of the State address at noon to kick off the 2-month session. But even before lawmakers step foot at the Roundhouse, the power struggles are evident and the jabs are already flying.
We're looking to put New Mexico families first for a change.
Republicans are out of touch with New Mexico.
There's a lot that can be done during this 2-month session. Santa Fe Representatives Brian Egolf, the Democratic Minority Leader, wants the minimum wage hiked up to $10.10 an hour. Republican Representative Nate Gentry of Albuquerque says they'll try to compromise, but that number is just too high.
As Democrats, we will be supporting legislation to increase our state's minimum wage.
We'd be blowing the other states in the region out by nearly $2.
Gentry says Republicans will also look to undo the law that gives undocumented immigrants driver's licenses, but the Dems say that would hurt thousands of kids, legal U.S. citizens. There's also the fight over right to work, which allows workers to opt out of unions. Now, education is also going to be a talker, as the governor will try to again pass a bill to hold back 3rd graders if their reading isn't up to par. But that isn't the only education issues that will be brought up. In our next half hour, we'll break down some of the top concerns education leaders have this session. Crystal, back to you.
All right, thanks for that information, Catherine. Now, also in our next half hour, we'll have more on what Governor Susana Martinez plans to outline in her State of the State address that will be today.
Here are some facts about this year's session. The 2015 legislature could get interesting now that Republicans control the House for the first time in 60 years. The Republican Party has the edge with 4 more representatives than the Democratic Party. On the Senate side, Democrats have the lead with 25 senators to the Republican Party's 17. Spaceport America officials are expected to ask for emergency money from lawmakers this legislative session. The spaceport is still waiting to open following the deadly October crash that destroyed Virgin Galactic spacecraft. Virgin Galactic officials say they won't move into the spaceport until 2016 at the earliest. That leaves a shortfall of about $1.7 million. Spaceport officials say they're looking at different ways to make that up, but they need the money in case they don't land new tenants.
And News 13 is your place for full coverage of the session, both on air and, of course, online, starting with the governor's State of the State speech at noon, which we will carry live over on KRQE.com. You can also find a list of special events there.
5 minutes past the hour, and also developing this morning, President Obama is preparing to deliver his 6th State of the Union address in Washington in just hours. Tonight's speech will focus on issues that are already being talked about. State of the Union spoilers have been posted on White House social media pages over the last few weeks. On the docket, immigration, broadband access, helping to pay for community college, tax breaks for the middle class, and some tax hikes for the wealthy. Stay with KRQE and KRQE.com for the latest on the president's remarks, scheduled to air tonight at 7.
A lot of parents and teachers are upset this morning after learning about a huge gap in how much money each high school in Albuquerque gets per student. But the district says there's very good reason for it. APS says it has to do with each school's demographics. Per student funding is based on things like the number of students living in poverty, the size of the school, and how many kids are enrolled in the special education program. This budget per student is just a roadmap. The district says they plan can easily change throughout the year depending on how many kids are in need.
The 3 main seats for the APS school board are up for grabs, and tonight is your chance to meet those candidates. A school board candidate forum starts at 6 at the APS administration building. One of the main focuses for board members, hiring a new superintendent. The district is beginning the process of finding qualified candidates after former superintendent Winston Brooks stepped down amidst controversy.
And since school was out yesterday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, some students spent the day cleaning up. Teens from several local charities and youth groups worked on a service learning project. They gathered to help pick up trash and tidy up classrooms at West Mesa High School. They say they wanted to give back to the community. Around 60 people showed up to help out. They're also looking for clothing and food donations for the school's Mustang store.
The Bareilles Senior Center celebrated MLK Day in a unique way. Hundreds of volunteers set up a food pantry for Albuquerque senior citizens. Organizers say that pantry was set up like a store so that people could select items like produce, baked goods, and fresh eggs. The volunteers helped seniors shop and carry their groceries. This year, the city partnered with the Storehouse and St. Felix Pantry. This is the second year that Bareilles has hosted that event.
We're following developing news this morning. Emergency crews raced to JFK Airport after a Delta flight became the target of a bomb threat late last night. The bomb threat was called as the flight was in the air. Soon after the Delta flight landed, passengers got off, and that's when security swept the plane and its cargo with bomb-sniffing dogs. Nothing was found, though. A bus drove the passengers back to the terminal where they were interviewed. Another Delta flight from New York to Tel Aviv was also flagged. It was checked by security for possible bombs, but was never evacuated. At this time, no arrests have been made.
7 minutes past the hour, ISIS is now demanding $200 million from Japan, or says it will kill 2 of its citizens within 72 hours. In a video posted online today, a masked man clad there in black is he's holding, I should say, a large knife. The man is linking the threat against the 2 men's lives to Japan's support for the U.S.-led coalition that's fighting ISIS in Iraq and Syria. No word yet on payment of the ransom or if the country will negotiate with the captors.
Pretty scary stuff there. Yeah. New details this morning surfacing about the deadly shooting at an Albuquerque Walmart. There is also surveillance video that police hope will help solve that murder. Police released surveillance pictures of the victim, now identified as 21-year-old Angelo Martinez, in the Walmart parking lot on Coors and I-40 on Sunday. Witnesses say he and another person were fighting before gunshots rang out. Martinez died at UNM Hospital. The shooter is still on the run this morning. Now police are searching for this red pickup truck believed to be connected to the crime. While shoppers at night described it as very nerve-wracking, other shoppers say it's not going to scare them away, and this can happen anywhere after dark in Albuquerque.
If Walmart being such a family-safe place, somewhere you can get shot in the parking lot, I'm sure other places, carry just as high of a risk.
Now, the store was closed for several hours during the investigation. News 13 did dig some information about the victim. Angelo has been in trouble with the law before, recently accused in a smoke shop holdup.
The trial for a man accused of causing a gun scare in Albuquerque last month is expected to begin today. Last month, the grand jury indicted Andrew Godsey on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This after police say Godsey pointed what looked like a real rifle at a homeless man at a gas station near I-40 in Eubanks. A few days later, police say he was roaming that same area near Sandia Labs with an airsoft rifle and a pistol that looked real. That triggered a huge police response and several lockdowns. The trial is set to begin at 1:30 today.
A high school teacher is still behind bars tonight, accused of buying one of her students alcohol and having sex with him. Victoria Baker is an educational assistant at Belen High School. State police arrested the 34-year-old on Friday. She's accused of rape for having sex with a 17-year-old student of hers on more than a few occasions. State police still have not said how they found out about it. Baker is in jail on a $300,000 bond.
6:33, an Albuquerque man accused of raping and killing a 1-month-old baby is expected in court today for a trial. Prosecutors say Juan Galindo was taking care of that girl while high on meth in 2011. Galindo claims the baby was choking and constipated, and he hit her back to help her. But the investigation revealed instead that she had black eyes, a damaged liver, and injured genitals. The trial is set to begin at 9 a.m. today.
Gas prices are at 5-year lows across the country. Here in New Mexico, we are at $1.86 for a gallon of unleaded.
If you live along the U.S. Gulf Coast, you often find your gas prices are among the cheapest in the country because about half of the United States refining capacity is in that area.
And we are tracking the lowest gas prices for you across New Mexico. We have a link to where you can fill up for less. Just go to our website, krqe.com, click on the More tab.
Time at 6:34. The 2015 legislative session starts today, and we already know the session will look a little different this year. But what does that mean for some of Governor Martinez's top budget priorities? Her $6 billion plus proposal focuses on education, health, and economic development. News 13's Catherine Mazzone took a look at one of those topics, education, spoke with the teachers union about their top concerns this session. She's in the Newsplex with more on that this morning. Catherine?
Good morning, Adam. Now, Governor Martinez's 2016 budget proposal sets aside $68 million for education. That's more than ever, according to her office. But not everyone agrees on how Martinez wants to spend that money.
It's going to put more high stakes on tests. You know, if you want to raise, if teachers want to renew their license, if kids want to move to the next grade, if kids want to graduate, all of these ways of linking testing to education funding.
Ellen Bernstein is the president of the teachers union. She says she has a problem with the way Martinez wants to fund education. Bernstein tells us she prefers a model where the money is put into a formula and distributed evenly among all 89 districts, with local boards deciding their top priorities. That's instead of pushing more money into certain projects, leaving some districts with more money than others. The governor's office says funneling money into specific projects means taxpayer dollars will be used more effectively and have a greater impact on student achievement. But Bernstein takes issue with that, especially when it comes to projects linked to testing.
We really have to stop putting so many high stakes on tests. They're not created for all those different purposes, and it's really killing education and kids' interest in school to just constantly be taking so many tests. We need time to teach.
Governor Martinez also wants to raise the starting teacher's pay by $2,000. Bernstein says that's good news, but what about teachers who've been in the classroom for decades? She says those educators need raises too, as do other people who work in schools, like secretaries and counselors. Back to you, Adam.
Catherine, thanks. The governor also supports a proposal to help cut back on truancy by suspending driver's licenses or permits of those students who are regularly absent.
The session will kick off with the State of the State address from Governor Susana Martinez. This is where she will outline her priorities for the 60-day session. Her State of the State address will be given to a joint session of the House and Senate. Martinez already has unveiled parts of her agenda, including another pay raise for new teachers, also budget increases to support education reforms and the state's overwhelmed child welfare agency, and incentives for some small businesses.
We are, of course, staying on top of what's happening at the Roundhouse throughout the next couple of months. Get the latest on air and online at krqe.com, where we'll be streaming the governor's State of the State address live beginning at noon today. You'll also find a list of special events. On to this. More than 60 people are arrested following a protest that caused a traffic nightmare for a lot of drivers yesterday. This was a protest against police brutality. Police say the majority of the people arrested in California were students at Stanford University. Some demonstrators abandoned their cars on the bridge to block traffic. Others walked into the center of the bridge. Police did say the protests were peaceful and did not become violent in any way.
Kind of a traffic nightmare.
I guess it did, yeah. It hung up traffic along a busy bridge. 6:37. There are some new developments to talk about in the investigation into what caused the AirAsia plane to crash into the Java Sea. After listening to the black box recordings, investigators now may be ruling out terrorism. Indonesian investigators say cockpit audio recordings contain no sounds of gunfire or explosions. In an interview with Reuters, an investigator said there are no signs of a terror attack, just a pilot sounding very busy. You'll remember Flight 8501 crashed December 28th, killing all 162 people on board. And it's still interesting where the missing Malaysia plane still has not been accounted for. Still wondering if terrorists were involved in that. A lot of mystery surrounding both of those. A narrow miss to talk about on a New Jersey freeway, all caught on video. You got to see this. Take a look. A New Jersey man had his cell phone out recording a truck crash up ahead. This, though, came from behind. That's what's so startling. An out-of-control semi barreled right toward him, but somehow avoided a collision. The truck then hopped the median, right into oncoming traffic. Nobody got hit over there either. but it literally was feet.
So the situation is that driver actually had to stop because there was another semi up ahead that had crashed. So traffic had really slowed down. And then that's when you could see, as he turned around, another semi coming barreling toward him.
There was ice on the freeway too, which contributed to all of that. So
terrifying.
yeah.
An Ohio construction worker is dead and a tractor trailer driver injured after an overpass collapses. It happened late last night in Cincinnati. Emergency crews say the area is closed while they clean up and investigate all of this. Cincinnati police say the collapse was related to construction. No word on an exact cause at this time.
Must have still been open. I guess they did say one other person was minorly injured, very minor, and then the other, of course, was a death, and an unfortunate one.